What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Alan's Cashflow Mindset. I'm Cashflow GPT, coming to you from Newport Beach, California, with Alan Schnur, visionary creator and developer of everything from luxury homes and shopping centers to today's hottest trend, small bay industrial. He's a real estate investment master. Let's dive into this interview and explore how he built himself up from zero to an empire. We've got 32 questions lined up. You're about to uncover all his secrets. First section, $0 to the empire. Alan, you built a commercial real estate empire starting from zero. How did you do it?
I can remember when I just started off with one house. That's really where it all begins. When you decide to make a plan, make a strategy, and then actually go out and buy something. So I hired a mentor, I read some books, and I bought my first house for $23,000 a month, and it made $50 to $100 a month in cash flow. And for me, that was the beginning of a real estate career, a real estate empire. I remember I set a goal of $5,000 a month. I really wanted to quit my job. I could afford to live on $5,000 a month, so I started buying a lot of single family houses. And then once I did hit that goal, in life, it's never enough, right? So $5,000 a month in income went to $10,000 a month in income. So I thought maybe $120,000 a year would be a way to retire in my 20s, right? I don't think so. I just said to myself, what would be the number when I started to get more of a grasp of the real estate and commercial real estate and houses. And I said, why not just shoot for $100,000 a month?
2, when did you first realize that building cash flow assets was the real path to wealth?
I realized building cash flow assets was the way to true wealth. I was always kind of like the salesperson, buying something cheap and selling it, fixing it up, making a profit, buy low, sell high, that kind of philosophy, that kind of mentality. And the only problem with that mentality is, as we all know, once you complete your transaction, you gotta do it again, and you gotta do it again, and you gotta do it again, and then it becomes a job. And you really only have a few options. How much can you make each transaction, and how many of those transactions can you do in a day? It really wasn't enough for me, and I was awakened to a tragic event in my life. I finally realized that time is the most precious commodity that we have. In order to enjoy that time more, I would need to create passive income, because a mentor of mine once said, if you make $100 a month, if you make $500 a month, or even $5,000 a month on a piece of real estate, how many pieces of real estate can you afford to do? And the answer is infinite. As long as you're positively cash flowing. If you can do infinite amount of deals while you're positively cash flowing, well, your cash flows theoretically should only get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm reminded of Warren Buffett, his book Snowball, and snowball is the analogy. You start off with a tiny little snowball, and it's the power of compounding. You're pushing it down the hill, and that snowball keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and your cash flows keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because you're reinvesting the profits, you're living a greater lifestyle, you're building your real estate portfolio. That's when I really realized in my transition from working for somebody, for working for myself, and building cash flow and creating my own portfolio. The bigger the portfolio gets, theoretically, the more cash flow you should have. Theoretically, the more money you should have for your next deal. Cash flow.
3, you've said you never felt truly rich when you were doing residential real estate. Why was that?
Residential real estate, it's a hard gig, but you can definitely make money doing it. It just takes a lot of time, work, ethic, and it truly is, tenants, toilets, and trash. You can hire people to do that all for you, but you're still gonna have to take care of the people that you hire. There's only so much time in a day. I really learned this the hard way, because I've bought and sold over 700, 800 houses now, but there was also a time where I managed my own housing portfolio that had over a few hundred houses in it. And I used to have to walk around with 2 phones, one for the houses and one for my 9-to-5 job. And it was a lot of work. I found that if I could spread the risk out, say in an apartment building where I'd have just one roof, 72 people living there, instead of just 72 individual houses, that I'd have more time at the end of the day, and I'd actually have more money left over at the end of the month too. The transition from residential to commercial has lots of good benefits as well.
Second section, residential versus commercial. 4, what's the biggest difference between residential and commercial real estate?
The biggest difference between residential and commercial real estate is really all about scalability. I've done hundreds of houses, and I've also done probably over 100 commercial real estate transactions for myself. It's all about scalability. And when you're doing houses, you're pretty much the chef, you're the cook, you're the sheriff, you're in charge of everything. Everyone's coming to you. But when you start getting into commercial real estate, the numbers are bigger. And that's what I really like about commercial real estate, not just because you make more money, because you can afford to share the wealth and the profits with people around you. So you're not the only one making the decisions. So you can afford to hire more people. So you can afford to have handyman, ready to go, and you have a staff and you have a payroll. Commercial real estate, I used to always say it's a cleaner business. You're dealing with more respectable, more professional type of people. Sometimes when you're in the residential business, you're dealing with, families that are going through divorce, alcoholism, maybe they just lost their jobs. So you're really on the front line, and it's not the most glamorous situation to be in, and you're forced to make some hard decisions because at the end of the day, you still have to pay your bills, to the bank if the tenant pays or not. But when it comes to commercial real estate, you're dealing with maybe Fortune 500 companies, you're dealing with doctors and lawyers, you're dealing with, storage facilities. You're really just spreading out that risk amongst more people so you can afford to pay for all the help that you need around you, and you can hire professionals to advise you properly.
5. What are the pros and cons of residential versus commercial based on your own journey?
So based on my own journey, some of the pros and cons of residential real estate versus commercial real estate, again, you have one house, you have one tenant paying the rent. Unlike, you have your commercial real estate business, let's just say you have a shopping center or a small bay warehouse, maybe you have 72 tenants in your small bay warehouse. I might have 72 houses, but one house goes empty. I got one empty house. So I really like to spread that risk amongst 72 small bays. And again, I like the demographic profile, the professional profile. You might have a daycare. You might have, some painters, electricians, plumbers taking space from you, car people that fix the cars, insurance. I actually have hundreds and hundreds of small bay tenants. I can tell you from my past experience, I'd rather depend more on them paying their bills than someone, just renting a house from me. Plus, as a landlord, you have more rights in business than in housing, right? I mean, it's personal in the residential space. It's, somebody loses their job, they can't pay their rent. It's not just a problem for the person that can't pay the rent. It's also a problem for the landlord because we don't really want to have to throw anybody out. And even if you do have to throw someone out of their house, there's still going to be a lot of issues and attorneys and maybe some court dates that you have to follow through with before you do something like that. But when it comes to business, I mean, there's a lot of business-friendly states where you can literally, 72 hours after not collecting your rent, put a lock on their door, which I've been in that situation. And if they're serious about staying in business, they wire that money to you right away. So I just prefer small bay over residential.
6. For someone starting in real estate, why should they at least understand commercial real estate, even if they're not ready to invest yet?
So a lot of people believe when it comes to real estate that they should start off small and that they should jump into residential first. Makes a lot of sense, right? I used to say everybody needs a place to live, therefore everybody needs to rent a house. You'd be surprised how many people rent houses as opposed to home ownership. It seems safe. There's lots of houses to buy, fix, and rent out, or even flip. There's a lot of experience to be gained as well when you're doing residential. All of a sudden, you have this business and maybe you put 10% down and you got a 90% loan or 20, 80% loan. And now you're in business. You have your income, you have your expenses, you have your time to take into account, and you have your end of the month where you're going to be looking to see if you made a profit or not. So you're getting that type of business ownership. You're learning this responsibility, maybe for the first time in your life. What is it like to be a homeowner? What is it like to be a business owner? That's what I really do like about the residential business, especially when you have multiple properties, you're running multiple businesses. It's really easy to carry that experience and those systems and those processes over to the commercial business. So by the time I got to commercial real estate, I was an expert. because I've already did hundreds and hundreds of houses. So by the time I bought my first shopping center or my first small bay warehouse or my first warehouse, it was easy. And the rules are different in the commercial real estate space. You know, a lot of us have something called triple net in our areas, where the tenants are paying for the taxes, the tenants are paying for the insurance, the tenants are paying for the common area. Unlike in the residential, where the landlord usually has to pay for all that. So your expenses, they're controllable, they're predictable, and so are your cash flows. When you jump into that commercial real estate experience and you first go through residential, you're really on your path to success quicker. You know, you start at the bottom, you know, so you struggle through it. You cut your teeth on it. You got thick skin being in the residential business. So I'd always like to say it's just a little bit easier in the commercial real estate business.
Third section, commercial real estate breakdown. 7. What types of commercial assets do you personally like to invest in and why?
So I get this question all the time. People ask me, what's my favorite asset class to invest in? My first response is, it really depends on the lenders, right? What are banks lending money on today? Because it changes all the time. You know, I started off in the housing business where it was easy to get home mortgages to do houses, and then there was a period when it wasn't. Then I was in the shopping center business and it was easy to get loans in the shopping center business, and then that dried up. And then everybody wanted to bring manufacturing back to the United States. Then it was easy to borrow money in the warehouse space, in the small bay space. I like to first go where it's easiest to borrow money. As far as asset classes, they're all good. It just depends on where you find a good deal. And if you can find a good deal and you can match it up with some pretty aggressive lending, well, you really have an advantage then.
8. If you have a 21 years old son and he wants to be a billionaire, what's your advice?
To go into which asset class? And definitely one of my favorite asset classes, which is why a lot of us are here today, is small bay warehouse. I've been involved in it over the last 7 to 10 years. I find it interesting because, you know, you have your 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 square foot spot. You're not on the main road. The rents are usually more affordable than retail shopping centers. It's where you'll find your electricians, your plumbers, you'll find doctors, you'll find daycares, you'll find car shops. I like having this diverse array of different businesses in a business park. I like owning the business park. It's so cool. You know, they just open up the door, there's an office, there's a kitchen, there's space for their products. You know, over the last few years, there's this coined phrase of last minute delivery. That really is like last mile delivery as well. So these corporate parks are serving multiple functions for multiple people. I have distribution centers now that are renting space from me in these small warehouse parks just because they're closer to the residential community that they're servicing. I've built these parks. I've bought these parks. I refurbished these parks. I feel really safe right now in this asset class because, again, we're spreading the risk around to many different users, many different professions. It seems to make really good sense to have these corporate parks, not massive, huge Amazon warehouses, but these small mom and pop places where people maybe even can park a boat, park their lawnmowers, take a little extra space. I think there's a lot of profit there, and I think it's been overlooked by corporate America or REITs or very large companies that are in the real estate business because they go for the 100,000 square foot warehouses, but they don't know how to yet service, you know, the 1,500 square foot user like someone who has a lawn cutting business. So there's plenty of room for growth. I don't see it being overbuilt right now. I love the product. I think it has a great future. And that's what I would tell my child to start going into if they wanted to become a billionaire one day. But I love you, and you don't have to make any money. I just need you to be happy.
9. What's the first thing you look at when analyzing a commercial deal?
Location really is important to me. I need the car count. I need the advantage. You know, I like a specific amount of cars, 30, 40, 50,000 cars a day. This way, you know, if I'm ever struggling with vacancy, we could put up a sign and there's 30, 40, 50,000 people passing it every day. Plus you'll have your leasing team. So location's really important to me when it comes to commercial real estate. I look at comps. I want to know what the dirt costs. I have formulas, what the dirt's gonna cost, what it's gonna cost to build, what can we rent the space out for. A lot of this stuff will go for a per square foot price. Could be 90 cents, could be $1 a square foot. So if somebody rents 1,000 square feet from you, it's gonna be $1,000 a month. And then I like to pass the expenses along to the tenant. Is this a community where you can charge for triple nets, or do you have to have a gross price, which is one inclusive price for the spot? So if it was 1,000 square feet and they're paying $1 a square foot for rent, maybe you have to charge 30 cents more, $300 more a month for electricity, natural gas, or water, whatever they need. A lot of variables to take into account, but it all starts with location for me.
10. What's a common misconception students or beginners have about commercial real estate?
A common misconception about commercial real estate is some people think it's hands-off. It's an operational job, not in the sense that you're out there every day, digging ditches. But if you want to build a commercial real estate portfolio, you're going to have to manage the numbers. That's what I do a lot with my time. I'm managing numbers, I'm reading leases, I'm reading amendments. It's not a hands-off career, but it's a lucrative career and a very rewarding career. You can make it fit your lifestyle. If you want to do it first thing in the morning or last thing in the day, usually you can pick your own hours. So that's what I really like about it too.
11. What's a mistake you made early in commercial that taught you the most?
That's a really loaded question. I guess the lease itself, it's a really important legal document, and you really have to pay attention to everything in it. So there was a point in my career where I didn't want to hire a lawyer to go through the lease. It turned out to be a mistake, because when some of those leases are signed, they could be long dated. They could go for 5 or 10 years. So you're living by that agreement. So I would always use an attorney, which I now always do, just to confirm it's going to be a win-win situation. So attorneys on leases. Some other mistakes I made: I didn't have properties properly measured, bought something bigger than I thought or smaller than I thought. Some other mistakes I made would be maybe not putting the best tenants in, but there's sometimes you're doing a lease up, you're starting out from zero and you want to fill that place up as fast as possible. Had to take some risks, some chances. Some of them were good. Some of them turned out to be some good tenants. Some of them definitely turned out to be some bad tenants, bad apples. It's costly, because you have to turn it, you have to clean it, and you have to pay a leasing agent to bring somebody new. Picking your tenants is really important. Lawyers are important.
4th section, the psychology of money growth. 12. Where did this money game journey start for you? Where are you from?
So a little bit about me and the psychology of money. For me, it started in upstate New York. I had a nice upbringing, probably middle class, but it was very clear to me that if I wanted something above and beyond, I was gonna have to figure out how to earn the money, and then I can buy it. And that's exactly what I did. I was delivering newspapers, I was selling food, and then when the time came, I was selling stocks and commodities. I worked my way over to Wall Street. I was selling clothing, whatever it took to get ahead of just making, a basic income. And a lot of that brought me to where I am today with the lessons from the past, and I brought them into my real estate career, because in a way there's no difference in baking a cake and selling it, buying all the ingredients and then selling the finished product, than buying a house that was kind of falling down, fixing it up, making it brand new and selling it as well. Same kind of principle, right? Buy something used, broken, fix it, and sell it for as much as you can. It's a win-win situation for everybody. That psychology just carried over to all the other positions I've had up until this day, because the way you really get ahead in life is always do more than you promised, whatever it is. And you get this opportunity, you get to do it, you get to improve, you get to personally grow, and you get to make a lot of money at the same time. And most importantly, you get the freedom. All those gets checked my boxes, and they really helped create the person I am today.
Deck 13. Tell us about your childhood. How did your father's story influence your thinking about money and risk?
Growing up in middle class in upstate New York, there was a time when my father was fully invested in the stock market and doing quite well. It was very exciting to watch some of his picks really take off, and it was very rewarding. Up until 1987, when Black Monday rolled around, the United States saw a good 20–30% correction in the stock markets. And not only did that wipe out his profits, it also wiped out everything he ever made, including my college fund. My life quickly changed, and it was really clear. I remember I was in 11th grade, headed into 12th grade, and it was really clear to me that I was going to be paying for my own college education, and I wasn't going to be like everybody else anymore. I wasn't going to be going away. I wasn't going to be having all those college experiences. Matter of fact, I stayed home, I lived in the house, I was waiting tables, and I went to a community college, and that's how things started out for me while I saved my money to pay for the rest of my college career. I've always been a little shy in the financial markets, but yet I've spent over a decade and a half in them, but from a very conservative point of view. So it's really shaped the person I am today when it comes to investing in other financial products outside of real estate. I take chances in real estate because I got my hands on it. I can fix it. Real estate to me is a forgiving asset. Wall Street, stocks, if you leverage a little too much, it's not so forgiving, it's going to be taken away from you. This part of my financial philosophy, my money psychology, has come from my upbringing, from my father.
14. You were trading and hustling as a kid, right? What did that teach you about buy low, sell high?
And being a New Yorker, I don't know if New Yorkers just have the attitude or they have the personality, but I found myself in like swap meets and flea markets every weekend for like 10 years of my life when I was like from 5 to 15. You know, you ate what you killed. If you didn't sell it, you were gonna be carrying it home that day. You know, if it rained, you didn't get paid. If the sun was out, well, you gotta make hay when the sun's shining. So I'd get up on a car, I'd be selling stuff for $10, $5, yelling at the top of my lungs, knowing that when the going was good, you had to sell as much as possible. You had to stuff as much clothing into the bags as possible, because once that crowd passed, they're never coming back. So if they stop off, you think they want to buy, you got to close them on the spot. You got to hustle because they're not coming back. You know, there was definitely a time in my life where I believed in the quick sell, the quick close. I believe, you know, people deserved, and it was my right to make sure they bought what I was selling because it was going to make them feel good. And that's how I felt like I was bringing value to people. So I was able to carry that philosophy along in life. I definitely slowed down a bit, but yeah, the beginning, those raw capital markets, those flea markets, those swap meets made a big difference for me.
15. What books influenced you growing up that made you smart in the money game?
Yeah, some of my favorite books, I'm going to grab them. When I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, I resonated with it because I wanted a 4-hour work week. I was working really hard. It was all, you know, what stuck with me was like, you know, get a virtual assistant, less time in the office. You know, it's really like a nomadic approach. You can work anywhere you want in the world, set up business systems. You know, a lot of it was ingrained in me, but this book did a wonderful way of putting it down on paper and explaining it and helping me develop my real estate processes throughout the years. One of my other favorite books, you know, Robert Kiyosaki, he's probably got like 24 books out. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. A lot of people know him as the Purple Book guy. This particular one is Cash Flow Quadrant. I learned a lot of accounting principles from this book. And, you know, one of my favorite principles that Robert has passed along to me, I've met him several times personally, which is before you buy something, figure out how you can purchase a cash flowing asset to pay for it. And I've used that principle in my life for just about everything I've done up until this point. Another one of my favorite books, it's definitely an oldie, but a goodie, The Richest Man in Babylon. And it's set in like a Phoenician time, a long time ago. It's about a young man who really wants to figure out a better way of making a living than just pulling a chariot. I guess one of the principles that sticks with me from this book is if you want to invest in diamonds, invest in someone who's in the diamond business. And there's a story in the book where this particular young man invests in a baker to go buy diamonds. So I'm sure you can see the analogy. Surround yourself with the people you want to be in business with and invest in people that know what they're doing in the field that you want to be in.
16. You went from Wall Street to energy trading to real estate. How did 9/11 shift your path?
I spent a lot of time on Wall Street and in the financial markets, a good 15 years, if not more. A lot of you know that I worked in the World Trade Center on the 101st floor of the World Trade Center, the North Tower. You know, after those attacks, I lost so many team members. I lost 40 out of 44 people in my division. My life drastically changed. I was in this hotel room and I really had to do a gut check, which was, you know, was I really living my full purpose? You know, had I died along with a lot of my teammates, you know, did I live the life that I wanted to live? And I realized I wasn't even close. It was that night when I decided that I was going to live my true purpose. I was going to get more in touch with my soul, and I was going to really start working on why am I here on this earth? Work more on my journey instead of letting other people tell me what to do in my journey. So I took more ownership and more responsibility of the path that I wanted to be on. And I love sharing that message with so many people because I just can't think of a greater cause to be part of than influencing and mentoring other people to find their true path, because we all have greatness in us. It's just a shame if you don't get to live it. I'm excited to go down the journey with myself and with other people, find that magical purpose that they're here to accomplish.
17. What's the mindset that allowed you to go from starting over to building an empire?
So the question is, what's the mindset allows you to step out or step away from what you're doing into a whole new career and try something new? I had to do that. I left the financial markets. It was a tough way of making a living, but it was quite a lucrative living. I had to just one day, literally, I walked out of my office and I remember I sat down in a bakery. I ordered a knish or something, and I just started working on a new plan in real estate. Said to myself, I'm gonna buy this many houses, I'm gonna then start buying apartment buildings, and then I laid out the whole entire plan, and I made it so lucrative and so big. Even though I had zero, I had no assets at the time, I made it such a compelling future that it dwarfed a 15-year career that I was afraid to walk away from. But it gave me the courage, the plan, and the vision, right? People will perish without a vision. We've heard that from the Bible. That's what I would recommend. If you're thinking about a career change, create a vision for yourself bigger than yourself.
5th section, cash flow mindset. 18, your book, Cash Flow Mindset. What's the key message?
The Cash Flow Mindset, my book. Some of the key takeaways that I love about this book is I was able to take a tragedy that really set me back. It forced me to leave a career 15 years behind to start my own thing. It gave me the confidence and the courage, and also gave me no other way of doing it because I just lost everything that I spent a decade and a half building to start over in a field that I was truly meant to be, the entrepreneur instead of just the employee. And some of the principles that I used throughout the book that I learned in the commodity markets was pyramiding. It's like you make $2 in profit, take $1 off the table, now you have $1 on the table, go bet that dollar, and now you have $2, and then you have $4, and then you have $8 and 16 and 32 and 64. So you keep pyramiding your numbers. I didn't just do that with money, I did that with assets, and I did it with lots of things in my life. The last principle that I really like about this book, the reason why I call it the millionaire, billionaire, zillionaire design, is because I'm sharing and teaching people how to create processes in their life, how to set up processes in their life so they kind of get a little more automatic, or you're hiring people around you, you're growing your business, but you're also growing other people. It's personal growth. It's not only forcing you to get bigger than you are, it's allowing you to measure it in money. Money is definitely not everything, but money's a lot more measurable than spirituality. When it comes to growing your own businesses and your processes and, making a comeback in life and maybe a career change, there's a lot of value in this book. How do I know it? Because I went through it and I wrote it down. So I hope you all pick up a copy of my Cash Flow Mindset.
19. Why do you emphasize cash flow over a big payday money?
The first part of the answer is very obvious, because when you get paid, it's great, but it's like, then you got to go do it again. And how do I know this? Because I bought one house a month for 10 years straight. So I had 120 houses. And then I started flipping houses and flipping houses and flipping houses. And every time I flipped a house, I had to do it again and again and again. And, carpet, tile, paint, find the house, close the house again. It's a lot of work you're creating for yourself. And now I'm looking back, and you're going to find that most real estate investors regret selling. It's true. I definitely regret selling a lot of assets, because once you sell your asset, what do? You got to go find another asset. And when you find that asset, you got to procure it. You got to take care of it. You got to, put the property managers in there, and you got to work with the tenants. It's like you got to fix the car all over again when you already had a car that's working. Sometimes, the best investment is to keep what you have and cash flow what you have. So if your cash flow is broken, maybe you fix it. If you bought something that's broken and you fixed it and you already did the work, why not keep it? Because looking back now, and I can see from a lot of my friends that are super successful in real estate, they're working their tails off. It's not that I don't work hard either. I actually held on to a good dozen pieces of real estate that cash flow quite well, and it just kind of take the squeeze off of life. I remember what it's like to wake up in the middle of the night and, this isn't going well, and how am I going to pay for this? And I got these medical bills coming in, and I'm nervous when I walk up to the register to buy groceries. I mean, give me a break. That's not the way to live life. So imagine if you can fix that with cash flowing real estate, knowing that on the first of the month, all that money's coming in. You can go to Vegas on the 21st of the month and you can lose all your money. You can hold on for 9 more days. What's gonna happen? All that money's gonna come back in again, and you can go back to Vegas if that's the way you wanna live your life. So it's cash flow. So if you can live in a budget inside your cash flow, infinite amount of fun, which I love to have, fun. So I equate cash flow with fun. Not having cash flow, it's a job. And so that's why I prefer the cash flow. I'd rather have the fun than the job.
20. What's one principle from the book that most people overlook but is game-changing?
One principle in this book that people overlook all the time is I have this section on, I call it my cash flow warriors. And why do I call them my cash flow warriors? I send out my warriors to battle, and I expect them to win the battle, and then I expect them to bring back what they won. If I'm sending 10,000 cash flow warriors out to go do a job, I expect them to come back with minimum of 13,000 cash warriors. So I'm always trying to multiply my cash warriors. Every dollar is like a soldier, and that's the way I always looked at it. I don't want people to overlook that. I want people to start saying, you know what? I just earned a dollar. I just earned a cash flow warrior. Let me send that warrior out to work. What's that warrior gonna do? He's gonna win the fight, win the battle, and bring back the treasure, the plunder, grow your portfolio.
21. Another principle.
Another principle from my book, The Cash Flow Mindset, I have this saying in the book: if you can do it once, you're an expert. I mean, I know that sounds silly, but what do I really mean by that? Here's what I mean by it. Most people won't do anything. They won't take action. It's someday I'll do this, someday I'll go there, someday I'll marry this person, someday I'll make this. There's not enough action being taken. So it's like 99% of the people will never do anything. That's why if you do it once, you're an expert. You are so close to success if you take action. Do it once, you could do it 100 times. You do it 100 times, you could do it 1,000 times. And you do it 1,000 times, you can do it 10,000 times. I could use that equation with anything. With how I bought a house, bought 10, bought 100, almost bought 1,000. Definitely apartments, right? I bought thousands of apartment units. I've used the same formula in shopping centers and small bay warehousing.
6-section success stories from Alan's students. 22. You've helped students create tens of millions in real estate. Can you share one success story?
In my book, I actually have my phone number and email address. I get emails occasionally with success stories. And one of the first ones I ever received was from a physical trainer who had written me a very long letter about it just wasn't for him, the field, the career, but he needed it to support his family, so he kept doing it. And I taught him how to buy apartment buildings. He did very well, actually. He became a multi-millionaire, and he was able to change his career into real estate full time, and he went on to buy more apartment buildings and actually RV parks, and he's very successful at it. So it's rewarding. I always believed in what I was doing, and if you're really looking for a change, I feel on my journey, this is an easier way of making a living and a more rewarding way. Maybe you want more money for your family, for your charities, you want more passive income. It's not always about what we save. It's really about what also comes in. I know I sleep a lot better knowing that I have multiple streams of income coming in all the time than what used to be just one, which was my salary, which I had no control over. I really hope if you're considering real estate that you really stop, take a good look at what we're talking about here, give it a shot. I mean, it's not for everybody. It's totally not for everybody. But if it's for you, you're gonna change your life. and it's going to be rewarding for me, and it's going to be rewarding for you.
23. What separates the students who succeed big from those who don't?
What's the difference between the students that succeed and the students that don't? Especially in this new world of AI that we live in. I mean, we all have access to all the information we ever wanted to know about any particular subject. The student that succeeds is the one that's going to actually get up, go out, make a plan, take action, and make the purchase, and then be part of that purchase and get a really good feel for the asset class that they're working in. I've seen it time in and time out. It's just not going to, you're not going to just pick up a book. This isn't the right career for you. But if you want to get your hands a little dirty, make a difference in other people's lives, right? The more people you help, the more money you're going to make and the more rewarding you're going to feel. You got to do it. You got to get out there. You got to be networking. You got to be part of the group. You got to go to the seminars. I mean, Saturday morning seminars have absolutely changed my life. I used to go out Friday night with my friends and they'd be laughing at me because I'd be leaving at like 10:30 at night because I had to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday to go to a real estate seminar. But you know what? That's how I learned. Watching all these people up on stage, I just said to them, I want to be the person on stage. I want to be not necessarily always the teacher, but I want to be the one that owns those assets because it's so rewarding owning the assets. You could do so many things with it. Like I said, you could donate to your charities, you could put your family through vacations and colleges, and it's nice to have a little extra money. So I like real estate a lot.
24. If someone wants to create real wealth, what's the first thing they should do today?
If somebody absolutely has to take action today, what's the best way of getting involved? It reminds me when I felt like that. I mean, I took a class and then I couldn't wait for like Monday morning to roll around. I went back to that person that taught me how to buy apartment buildings and I was like, sign me up. What do I got to do? You got to go. You got to go to know. You got to, start walking towards the thing you want. It's not going to come towards you. At least meet it halfway, and you're going to be surprised in all these incredible synchronicities and opportunities and coincidences that come your way. It's just waiting for you. But you got to go out there and you got to take it. You got to learn about it. Start surrounding yourself with the people. Get the books. Like I said, listen to the podcast. Go on YouTube. Be around all the people that are already doing it. Call someone up. Just take action. Do something, please.
7th section, the ROI of self-investment, your next big opportunity. 25. Back when you started, you didn't quit your job. You spent weekends at seminars and masterminds. Why was that so important?
The absolute game changer for me was when I started to go to the seminars and join the mastermind groups. It just was, I never did good in school. I wasn't very book smart, but there was something about being around like-minded people inside the seminars. That's where I belong. Those were my peeps. For me to really grasp an idea, a new philosophy, something I never did before, I needed to be like totally engulfed in it. I needed everybody around me talking about it, getting jazzed and excited about it. Next thing I knew, I was fully signed up, fully committed, and it became really important in my life to succeed in real estate with the group I was starting out with. And I can still remember back in those days when I was sitting in some of those rooms with some of those people. Some of the best friends I have today are from those groups.
26. Why do you believe in investing in education and mentorship?
The reason why I think people should invest in real estate education is because if I gave it away for free, no one's going to show up. I can't stand that, actually. So I paid for it. And if I didn't pay for it, I probably wouldn't have showed up either because things happen. Kids get sick, relationships have problems, and things come up. But when you pay for something, you're probably going to show up. It really keeps you accountable. There's this psychology here. You've given your money means your time, and you've given a portion of it up, and you want something in return. It's the law of reciprocation. You got to pay for it, and be humble, give it a shot, show up, and work hard because you worked hard making your money.
27. If someone wants to meet you in person or learn directly from you, where can they find you next?
So where can you find me or learn directly from me? I'm giving a speech on September 11th, 9/11, to a closed group. It's a network that I'm part of. It's a large, wealthy group. And I'm going to be in New York for that. And then right after that event, we actually have another event open. We have to pick you to attend, but we're gonna have this one here in Newport Beach, and I'm really excited about it. We're gonna have maximum, no more than 30 people. Half of it's already sold out. We're really picking and choosing who can come to this. We're actually gonna do it right here on the water in Newport Beach, and we're really excited about it. We're gonna focus on small bay asset class. I have around 700,000 square feet of it. A lot of experience with it. I developed it, I've operated it, and I refurbished it as well. Really excited about sharing, like, this is where a lot of wealth is being created right now in the United States in small bay warehousing, last mile delivery.
28. You're hosting your own commercial real estate mastermind with Saul and Shay this September 13 and 14. Who is this for?
On September 13th and 14th, I'm hosting a real estate event with some very good colleagues, Saul and Shay. Combined, we've done a few $100 million in transactions, and we currently run a lot of warehousing business. And if you're interested in learning about warehousing, industrial, small bay warehousing, it's the event you absolutely want to attend. We've done very well with it, from development to operations. We've done these events before. It's going to be mind-blowing on the change you can actually make in your life if you implement what you're going to learn spending 2 days with us.
29. What will attendees learn that they can't get from books or YouTube videos?
The next question is, what are we going to do at this real estate seminar? And I've actually put a lot of thought into it with how quickly AI has just surprised us, because even I get on it and I'm learning and I'm growing so much from Claude and chat. You got to be part of a group. It's just going to make all the difference. It always made all the difference for me. Not only are we going to bring our real world experience, not only are we going to bring you on site to industrial buildings, we're going to show you exactly what we've done, how we've made billions of dollars, how we collect hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in rental collections. We're going to open up the whole entire business for you. We're going to share it with you. We're going to give away our secrets. This is what you cannot get online, or you cannot get from a lot of other gurus or people that are selling products. We are in the business. We are your peers. We are your colleagues. This is what we do for a living.
30. Why is this the right moment in the market to learn small bay industrial?
It's never been a better time than right now to learn about small bay industrial. And let me tell you why. For now, it feels like the last 10 years, everyone's been saying we need to bring more manufacturing back to the United States. We need to get back to our roots. We need to make things here. Well, that only adds fuel to the fire, because where do you think they do that? They do that in small bay industrial. They do that in warehousing. And I've been part of this industry for a very long time. Small bay industrial, what is it? It's like these small business parks not too far from residential areas all throughout the United States. You can't just put 100,000 square foot large warehouse next to 1,000 homes anymore. But you can put small bay industrial. And what is it? It's not retail shopping centers. It's kind of like retail industrial. You might have a doctor's office. You might have a daycare. You might have a car place. You might have, Amazon might be renting space there. Distribution centers. A lot of these distributors, Prime, Amazon Prime, how do you think they get it there so fast? Because they have small bay industrial located very close to where you're probably sitting right now. We believe in this product, and it's been overlooked for so long, because everyone's been building very large warehouses. So you take 1,000 square foot warehouse, you put an office in it, you put a kitchen in it, you have a place for storage, you turn on the air conditioning, you open up your door, and your tenant's in business. And that goes a long way, and it happens really fast. And it's more affordable than taking a retail space. So small bay industrial's never been a better time than right now. Really want you guys to get involved with this seminar. If you ever thought about getting into it, now is absolutely the best time.
31. Alan, if someone's watching this and thinking, I want to build real wealth, but I don't know where to start, what would you tell them?
The next question is for people that have asked, well, how do I get started? It all really begins with showing up. You got to just show up, go to the seminar, read the material, start working with brokers, start making offers on properties, hire people that can operate them for you. How do you do that? Well, you have to learn it. And we want to share that with you. That's one way to get involved. And then the other way to get involved is find value. I mean, I'm a value buyer. I want to find something broken and I want to fix it. I want to find a warehouse and I want to convert it into like 10 small spots. I don't want to go into the apartment business. I don't want to rent out apartment units or houses. I want to rent out small bay units where somebody puts a lock on their roll-up door, turn on the air conditioning, they put their inventory down. They don't pay their rent. It's really not that hard to get rid of them. And what do? You just spray down the space and you bring in the next business. I've been doing this for a long time. It's a lot easier to manage small bay industrial than people and tenants. You can either convert a building, we can show you how to do that. You can develop a building. I've developed a small bay industrial warehouse, or you can just buy one that's working and live off of the cash flow. It's really up to you, but it all starts with you. You need to qualify to get involved. Come visit with us, send in your application, and I hope to hear from you, and I hope to get back to you as well.
32. Where can they find you and learn more about the mastermind?
How can you learn more about this mastermind? Industrial IQ. The link is below. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Facebook. Click the link below, you'll see the application. You do have to apply, there's a process here. This is not just for anyone who's interested in industrial warehouse. This is for someone who actually wants to be part of a team and go out there and do it. The seminar is September 13th and 14th. It's here in beautiful Newport Beach. We have a jam-packed seminar planned for 2.5 days. Come join us, be around your peers, be around other people that want to do this. Start building your networks in industrial buildings and start making a huge difference and change in your life. Industrial buildings, industrial IQ, click the link below. Hope to hear from you all soon. Bye.